Oh, Alan, here we go again. Love that music. I got all freaking pumped up and I'm ready to go. And we were doing a little pre-chat with Jeremy, who's going to come on the stage here in just a second with us. But he said, do you have a Chris filter? He goes, yeah, I have a Chris.ai filter. I'm like, dude, I've never heard of that. I'm like, most of my friends, the Chris filter is the F-bomb.
There is no filter for the Chris
It just
filter.
happened again, right? I went on a boys trip out to Lake Tahoe. Thank you. And one of my buddies comes back and his wife says, every time you're with Chris for a couple days, you swear a lot. And I was like, well, that's bullshit. Why is she always blaming me? Oh, whoops. Okay.
Hey, cheers, Jeremy.
All right. We're cheersing today with a little Modelo. However,
yep.
Monday Night Brewing may be in the works. We're working on it.
Kilt.
I just got water. Nothing exciting here, man.
We call that straight vodka.
We can give you a minute.
Yeah, we're always good because we're always drinking. But Jeremy Slate, you're on, and we're excited to have you on. You have a number of cool things happening. You got a book coming out. You got your Command Your Brand program that you do, but you've also done some other things. So we thought it'd be great for everybody to get a little taste of what it's like in your world and how you've helped other people build their own brands. And so I think this is going to be an awesome episode where we can kind of kick it around a little bit and figure out how to build a brand.
I'm looking forward to it.
All right, let's do this.
Yeah.
Jeremy, before we get going though, where the hell are you from?
I am from Northwest New Jersey. Nothing happens out here. There's lots of cows. I have 24 chickens. It's nothing really happens out here, man.
When you think of New Jersey, you do not think of that. You think of big, sooty cities and The Sopranos.
But
right?
you know what's wild, man? Like, what's wild? So
yes,
I'm in a county called Sussex County. It's on the border of a county called Morris County. So I'm Warren County. So we're on that part of the state. And my reality, like I hate going to New York because I'm like, oh my God, this is terrible. And the parts of the state people think of when they think of New Jersey, are places I don't usually go. So for me, it's if you don't have a car, you can't get anywhere, right? Because everything's 5 miles away. I worked on a farm as a kid. So it's what people think of New Jersey being either cities or that stupid Jersey Shore show is not my reality at all.
I actually learned that New Jersey tomatoes are some of the best tomatoes in the country.
Beefsteak.
Oh.
Yeah.
Man, you know what? I'm gonna have to try that. So I like John's Island tomatoes out of Charleston. Yeah, I know. I am a tomato aficionado. I like our mountain tomatoes here in Georgia, but we're getting off on a tangent. But we're gonna keep going on the tangent.
Is that unusual? Is there
no?
Okay.
But we're gonna go back to him being a gentleman farmer, or maybe a real farmer. But he said he has 12 chickens. How many? Because I just did an estimate for a guy in town Atlanta, right off of Druid Hills.
Yeah.
Right. I go in the back. We're doing a bathroom remodel, but he wants to show me one other thing. He says a really unique home, middle of the city in Atlanta. I go in the back and I hear. I'm like, what the hell's going on? He goes, oh, we built a chicken coop during COVID. I said, how many you got? He goes, 6. I said, and he goes, we have more eggs than we know what to do with. We're actually giving eggs away on our street. So how many eggs do these things produce a day?
Well, so first of all, I don't just have 12. I have 3 dozen. So I have a lot of chickens. We have 4 acres, so they just kind of free range around and do whatever the heck they want. We just got rid of one of our roosters because it was attacking the kids. And we've replaced him with a new, more subservient rooster. And it depends on the day, but I get 12 to 18 eggs a day, depending on the day.
Right. You're that 12 to 18 a day.
Yeah. Well, and so I was visiting my cousin and I was going to play a joke on him and buy him a rooster and just leave it in his backyard because he moved to the country. That's terrible. Well, and then I found out that would have been illegal. I mean, most municipalities, you cannot have a rooster. So do you have illegal roosters or are they?
They are 100% legal where I live. Surprisingly too, is my barn is kind of near my neighbor's property and they don't complain about the rooster crowing at all. They just love the free eggs they get. So I guess we're in good shape.
I think that's the way you buy them off, right? That's what I think. I should have asked him that. You know what he told me too is that they were in the coop when I went back, and he said you could see they're clucking, they're ready to go. He said they're literally like dogs. When we let them out, they'll follow me around. He said if they came out there, they would be following you around. He said they're very domesticated. I was fascinated with it. And of course, we're talking about this on a podcast.
I was going to say, I've got a lot of chicken questions, but we should probably get
into. All right. So Jeremy, you grew up on a farm, you're raising chickens.
So no, I didn't grow up on a farm. I have kind of my own farm now, but growing up, I grew up in a small neighborhood, and I worked on a farm. This is kind of weird, but my dad and I worked for this farmer that his nickname was Bikini Joe. And he
Whoa.
he was this very interesting guy with this giant beard that always did his farming in a bikini.
So I don't know if it's that show necessarily. It could be. I mean, not against it. Especially if it raises in the rankings.
So top and bottom bikini?
No, just like like the banana hammock. The bottom part.
Okay. It's like
the top part would have been a little weird, man. That would have been very weird.
Wow. There you go.
Not that the bottom part is any weirder, but like it would have been very weird to have the top on too.
I mean, seriously, how many other podcasts do you come on where you tell that story? I mean, do you tell it all the
I've
time?
actually never mentioned it on a podcast.
There we go. And so we've had an incredible job of doing that. We had one guy come on the podcast, said my first job, I worked at the foot of Ed's bed, or it wasn't Ed, but it was a dude in bed. God, yeah. But he said my first job out of school was cold calling people to try to sell tickets to events, and I had to work in this guy's apartment, and it was a one-bedroom apartment. And I had to work at the foot of his bed.
Oh my gosh.
So there you go. And now we know about Bikini Joe. So we bring those stories out. Here we go. We get into it. All right. So you grew up in the suburbs. You go off. Did you go off to college? I mean, did you always want to be a gentleman farmer and then build your command your brand? I mean, what were you doing?
No. So I actually, this is kind of strange, but my undergraduate degree is in Judaism and Catholic theology. And then I have a master's degree in ancient history. I didn't go away to college. I commuted. We're like an hour or so from Seton Hall University. So that's where I ended up going to school.
All right. Why Judaism and Roman Catholic?
So I went to Catholic school. So kind of, you get into college, you don't quite know what you want to do. And you're like, well, I know a lot about that stuff. I don't really have to study in order to pass, in order to get an A there. And it was kind of like, and I hadn't really explored what I wanted to do with my life. And in grad school was where I actually looked at what I wanted to do. So, I did the smart thing, got a master's degree in history, because let me tell you, people are lining up to get those jobs. And
you must have been the hottest commodity. So how many churches or temples were calling you saying, hey, Jeremy, we got a great job for you. We're going to pay you at least $13,000 a year. To tell
so I ended up teaching at a Catholic school, actually, and I made a very slightly more than $13,000 a year.
Did you were tonning it?
Oh, well done though. I wish
working about 80 hours a week though. I'll add.
Yeah. So all right. So you came out of school with a master's degree and went back and started teaching in a Catholic
So what
school.
we're learning about Jeremy is whatever he does, he's all in. I mean, all in. He grew up in the suburbs, and now he's got to wring chickens' necks every once in a while. Fight off.
I don't wring any chickens' necks.
You don't?
Oh wow! You let your wife do that?
I mean, come on. What do you do with the old chickens?
We haven't gotten there. I've only lived here for 3 years, so we haven't.
There's a recipe called coq au vin.
Well, oh no! Oh no! Don't.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I know.
I watched the old rooster in
Actually, I
two bottles of wine.
I watched my buddy's grandmother go out there, and he said, "Yeah, we're gonna have dinner tonight." And I'm like, "Oh yeah." I lived in the city, and there was a farming community all around us, right? And we're out there, and I watched Grandma go out in the backyard, grab a chicken, and just whoosh, does that really quick snap. I'm like, oh my God, your grandmother is vicious, bro.
I can see the look on Jeremy's face.
You should see my 2-year-old grab a chicken though. Like a lot of people are like shocked, like, how does she do that? I'm like, because she's been doing this since she could walk.
Yeah, right. She's walking. Next thing you know, she's grabbing chickens.
Exactly.
Right. And so, in fact, that's like Rocky, right? Rocky had to catch a chicken.
You gotta chase the chicken, Rock. Chase him.
See, he knows it.
Burgess Meredith. You gotta chase the chicken, Rock.
Outstanding.
That's a great.
It was a really good impression.
That is a great impression. Now Jeremy's 2-year-old can go out there and chase a chicken. So don't mess with Jeremy, because his 2-year-old might come out of the bushes, just wring your neck. Whoa, hello. All right, back to Jeremy. So you taught school. Is it high school, grade school? Which one did you teach?
I taught sophomores, which will very quickly make you regret ever getting the job. Because
it was worth every penny. All 13.
No, it's because they're not freshmen anymore, so they're not scared, and they're not juniors or seniors yet, so they don't have to worry about college yet. So it's, oh man, it was rough. And like I'm 36 now, so you can imagine what I looked like at 22. Like yeah. I had my coworkers giving me detention, like thinking I was a student. So like you could imagine how students treated me.
Yeah. You're going to love that later in life when you're Alan's age, because he's much more seasoned than me. Not really.
You look pretty good for 62. We established that.
Yeah, we established that. I had I went and did an estimate for this guy, and the guy's 80 years old. I'm like, wow, you look really good for 80. And he goes, well, how are you, young man? And I said, I'm 53. He goes, huh. I'm like, what? What's a huh? So as people have said, I look really good for 62.
But like you look at a guy like George Brett, and you're like, why does George Brett always look like he was 50? Like he's always looked that way.
Yeah.
Or Don Rickles. When he was 50, he always looked like he was 70. So all right. So you go to teach. What subject did you teach?
I taught sociology, criminology, and U.S. history.
Oh boy. Whew.
Yeah.
How about that? All right. So how many years did you do that?
Just 2. I burned out very quickly.
Yeah, it's tough. That's a tough role, man.
Well, and also like I had a lot of life changes at that point as well. I was still living at home at that point. I was engaged to my now wife, but my mom ended up having a really bad stroke, and it made me look at a lot of different things I was doing in my life. I didn't really know what I was gonna do, but I'm like, this is terrible. I'm not gonna do this. So I tried a whole bunch of things from that point. It took me about 2 years to kind of figure out podcasting and running this agency and everything like that. But to me, I burned out really quickly. I had a really big life event happen, and I'm like, you could show me how to sell garbage on Etsy, and I'm going to go do that because this is terrible.
All right. So how'd you figure out what you're going to do next? I mean, that's a pretty big leap. But before we do that, one thing I'm going to bring up, we've got 2 good friends that we know. Both of them taught in school, but now have different careers. One of them's being Troy as a lawyer. And he said that those were formative for him because he had to learn how to relate to people who did not want to be related to. And of course, he looked young as well. And so I think again, kudos to you for doing that. I think it's unfortunate that teachers aren't paid more to do what they do. And it's unfortunate that our school system allows people to kind of screw around. And then our other friend who came on the podcast created his own academy here in Atlanta just to change the way people are trained, the way teaching happens, the Walter Reed Academy. And I think that's
William and Reed.
Well, wait, that's right. William and Reed.
Yeah.
What did I say?
Walter Reed, the hospital.
That's right. That's what they do.
Well, I'll say it's unfortunate I wasn't a very good teacher. That's what I'll say.
Oh, yeah. All right. So you come out, you've had this really big thing. Now you had a midlife crisis at the tender age of 27, probably.
Yeah, I was 24 at the time. Yeah. So
24.
I wasn't very old. Yeah.
So, all right. So how'd you figure out what to do next? Because that's, again, life is about transitions. We talked about this the last episode that we had our guest on. We talked about life is about a transition. And so now what?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, I think one thing that my generation sucks at is everybody wants to start on top. Nobody's willing to work, and everybody's, they want to get a career that they're going to be in and make a whole bunch of money. And I think, frankly, the way to actually like do something with your life is to try a whole bunch of different things, actually a lot of manual labor jobs, and you're going to figure out what you like, find out what you don't like. You're going to learn some life skills. And from there, you're going to actually be able to do something. So for me, I actually after that, I worked for a house painter for like 2 years.
Nice.
And I worked on 40-foot ladders, 40-foot wooden ladders, by the way. Imagine carrying those things. And
those things are heavy. And again, you can't see him on the podcast. He's obviously in much better shape.
Look at the guns.
He's got some guns, bro. Look at that. I tell you, farming's good for him.
I was a competitive power lifter in my 20s.
Okay. Well, there you go. So you could lift so everybody was like, hey, Jeremy, go grab that ladder, will you, buddy?
I mean, the aluminum ones are heavy.
I pulled an army tank on the back of an 18-wheeler to raise money for the Wounded Warrior Project.
Nice. That is so. Oh, come on. Did you ever bring?
Are you serious?
Yeah, and I'm only 5'5", man. So like you can imagine, like
dude, what? All right. So we're sitting down. Alan is what are you, 7'5"?
Something like that.
Yeah, close. He's a really tall dude. And I'm only a short 6'2".
You pulled a tank on the back of a truck.
Tank.
Yeah, what they do is they put the truck in neutral, right? Because otherwise, if it's in gear, ain't nothing happening. And they take this M1 tank that's been decommissioned. They put it on the truck bed. They hook a chain to the truck bumper, and you got to pull it. The secret to doing it is you got to get really low to the ground, because if you pull upwards, right, it creates too much tension on it,
right?
And you're creating too much resistance, and it doesn't move. But pulling downward actually gets it to roll.
There you go. Tip for powerlifting. You know what? Next time you go pull a tank, Alan, I want you digging down low, big boy.
No.
I want all 6'7" of your ass way down there.
I'm sitting in the turret with the 50 cal.
Dugga. Yeah. Because I don't know. Did you get to get in the tank and run around with it?
No. It was actually lowest body weight. I like 5'5", 5'6", somewhere around there. And when I was competing, I was 190. I lost to a 5'3", 140-pound stay-at-home mom.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
She could pull it.
Is awesome. That is a great story.
Is there a video of that out there somewhere?
Oh my gosh.
I think there is, but it's like crazy grainy because it's like, we're talking 2014. So like video was not very good at that point in time on a cell phone.
Yeah, but still, yeah, it had to be mad props for that chick though, right? I mean, that lady, but stay-at-home mom. But that's really wild.
We need that Chris filter.
Damn it. That Chris, the AI filter. Is she hot? No, damn it, you can't say that either. All right. So you're pulling tanks, you're powerlifting, and you're going, you know what? People want to start on top, and here I am yanking tanks around. So what are you doing next? I mean, what are you gonna get in and start? I mean, how did you figure out that next thing?
Well, it's for me, I just kind of kept trying to figure out what it's going to do for work, right? Like I think a lot of times people like there's this crazy thing about everybody like wanting to be passionate and like they're never going to feel like they're going to work a day in their life. And I just think that's bullshit. I think it's about, building life skills. It's about building resilience, finding some things you're good at, and then figuring out how you can actually monetize those things. And so for me, I painted houses for a bit while I was doing network marketing. I was doing personal training, which I sold door to door. I was sold life insurance for a bit.
You sold personal training door to door.
I
Think
did.
about that for a minute.
This is how you do it too. So you make a survey and you knock on the door and you say, so I'm a local personal trainer. I'm new to the area and I'm conducting a survey. You go through all the questions. And then at the end you go, are you looking for a trainer? And you would be surprised how many people I sold using that method. And
I got to believe they were all just fad to sell. And which reminds me of this new thing that's running around. It says, it's a meme and it says, I signed up for a health fitness membership. And after 4 months, I've seen I've seen no improvements. So I decided to go in person and find out what the hell's going on.
That's great. Well, I'll tell you the secret too is you want to go into condo communities, but like the ones that are like more like higher income condo communities, because then you can hit more doors faster rather than having to like go up and down a street to a bunch of houses.
There's a gold nugget.
That is a gold nugget.
Canvas something where you don't have to run all over the place.
Or
and you look at zip codes that are high income, right? And those are the zip codes you go to because you don't want to waste your time with people who can't buy your stuff. Otherwise, you're kind of like just wasting your time.
Dude, you were a hustler though. So
and then you show them a video of pulling a tank.
Well, you didn't have the video at the time. That's what he was saying.
Oh.
But I think I would show the video of the tank, and then I would show the chick pull the video right after that and go, look, you can go with me. She was
my best student.
Or you can go with her, and I trained her. Exactly. That's exactly what I said. All right, so you're painting during the day. You're canvassing at night where you're trying to do 2 jobs at once?
Well, no. So I was the painting was first, and at night I was actually the manager of a gym. So I would get up at 5 and work painting from 6 until 5. I'd eat something and then I'd work closing the gym until 6 until 10 or 11. So I was sleeping a few hours in between. That was kind of nice. And after that, I had started personal training, and I had at the same time as that, I was doing a supplement network marketing thing, which was kind of weird because it's so you don't like your job, right? You want to buy my thing. And so that was kind of my first introduction into business. I will say I learned a lot from that, but at the same time, I don't think it's a really sustainable business model. From there, I actually sold life insurance, which I was really, really good at. I just hated those uncomfortable settings of talking about. So you really love your family, right? I feel like I was earning my stripes of being from New Jersey. You love your family, right? You don't want anything to happen to your family, right? Yeah. You need to buy this. So I did that for a good year. I made some solid money, but I couldn't do it long term. And what I actually ended up doing was working at a friend's marketing agency. I had taught myself how to build websites from watching YouTube videos and reading blog posts. And while doing that was actually when I started the podcast. We had 10,000 listens in our first month, and we started getting a lot of attention, and people started asking for help. And that was actually where the current company came from back in 2016. And, since then we're 12 employees and just trying to make a bigger impact out there in the world, man.
Nice. Let's talk about that podcast because it's still going today, right?
Yeah. We're 1,100 plus episodes in at this point.
Right.
Wow.
And, all right. So let's talk about that one for a minute. Pitch it up. Let's get everybody into it. We'll put it in the show notes. So what's the name of it?
Called Create Your Own Life.
See, create your own life. I did know that. I was just waiting for him to say it so I could say, so he's created a chicken life pulling tanks. And so life.
Yeah. What have you done?
I know, actually he says, I'm selling life insurance. And in my head, I was still going back to, he was painting, closing the gym and sleeping a couple hours. Oh, by the way, I was selling some life insurance.
Because here's the thing I'll say, man, I've done a lot of different jobs. And I think that the thing is you work at things and you gain skills from each individual one. I think too many people are like, all right, I got to find this career. I'm 18 years old and I'm going to commit to it until I'm 60 and I'm going to hate it. You know what I mean? Like you gotta, we're going to go with a chicken joke here. You got to crack some eggs to kind of figure out, what you're going to do with your life, man. And I think too many people want to just,
right there.
They want to sit there. They want to sit there and think about it and whatever. And you got to work at things, man.
New career. You're coming. You got kids. You got dad jokes coming. There you go.
My dad's dad jokes are the worst.
That means they're the best.
That's right. Dad jokes.
Like we golf. There'll be a guy in the team. It'll be like, "Oh, hello, ma'am. Does your husband play too?" Like,
yeah, that's awesome.
When he was going through all of his stuff, I was thinking, he went to college and studied Judaism and Catholicism. What do they have in common? Guilt. Yes. And so then he went out and punished himself by selling.
Well, no. I have a master's degree in early Roman Empire propaganda. So I studied Roman emperor worship cults. Go figure.
Wow.
I think that comes up often in business, right? When you're closing.
Absolutely.
Augustine said.
I don't know if you've followed Jewish theology as of late and what's going on, but let me tell you, do you love your family? Do you want to see them dead? I'm just asking. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I gotta love that one, right? So I know emperors, you could die. I don't know. I follow in the Jewish and I understand the Roman Catholic faith very well, and you should feel guilty about that. And that's why I said to my Jewish buddies, I would say, you guys are the pros at guilt. So we're just the amateurs trying to get in the we're in AAA trying to get into the pros as a Roman Catholic guy. What I really like about what Jeremy said is that this is not something we were taught at our age, which was try a bunch of stuff out and see what happens. Now, when you look back at my career, that's exactly what I tell people is that I had to go build my toolbox. I started my business at 37. Yeah. So I was a late bloomer, as it were, but I was putting all those skills in. I got my master's degree in mechanical engineering. I went to engineering. Then I got into consulting and I started working with banks, doing financial process improvement. Next thing you know, I'm in commercial banking. Then I start running the loan operations. And I was like, I'm building my toolbox and it's time to take those skills and see what you can do. And that's what, when I go back, because I do go back to the local Catholic school and I talk about career day, I don't care when you start. You just better have a plan. You better understand what your skills are and you have a plan. But I like, and that's one thing I'm going to change in my pitch. I think Jeremy hit on something is that don't expect to start on top because literally yesterday I was taking the trash out in our office.
Well, and because I'll tell you that now, like we were just hiring again last week and it took me a lot of interviews and everything else to actually like hire somebody. Because dude, I don't know, but like people getting out of school now, they're like, so I have a degree in women thinking about literature. And I would like to make $75 an hour. You know what I mean? Like they have no qualifications to do anything. And they want to make a rate that you're like, nobody can be profitable at that. What are you thinking, dude?
Yeah. Well, that is I obviously I just love that arc of skill sets and what he's done. So you started to command your brand in 2016. And this came off the podcast. Was it somebody who came on to start to give the idea? Was it you guys starting to talk about it, germinate it? I mean, talk a little bit about how you brought that up.
So originally, like what we did, it was called Slate Media Productions, and it was a done for you podcast model where we like edited your podcast, got your guests, got you booked on shows. Like we did this whole thing around a podcast. And I knew nothing about running a business, so I knew nothing about making a profit. So I kind of figured this whole thing out. And I remember sitting down with the first prospective client, which was a family friend. I'm like, so it's going to cost $20,000 a month, and he's like, I'll give you $1,500. So I was spending about $5,000 to make $1,500, and it was kind of how we got started. And we found that the thing that clients actually ended up liking the most was actually just going on podcasts and running a PR campaign. And actually my wife's degree is in PR. So we were able to really look at like, how can we take this and make this something viable and make a bigger impact for people? Because in my opinion, I think legacy media is absolutely dying. I think there's nothing left to it. And podcasts and new media is kind of the direction things are going. So we really wanted to help our clients be in the best places, make the biggest impact. So from there, the first version of this company was called Get Featured Media. We had another partner besides myself and my wife. And we, in the first 9 months, we made multiple six figures. We had done booked our clients on a lot of great shows, but then we really weren't getting along. And that was, we got in this weird kind of time period where I was paying all the employees, but he wasn't doing anything. And
that was a problem.
For 3 months, we had to figure out like what we were going to do. So we didn't have any new income. So I was actually getting side work to pay the employees so we could keep them. And it took that much to kind of figure out how to like end the non-compete and end that business. So get featured ended in mid of 2017, and it became Command Your Brand from there. So we've essentially been running the same business where I kept all the employees, kept them on, and like I said, even got side work in the beginning to make sure that they were still getting paid. And from there, that's really where things have gone.
So this is where I want to get into a little bit more. We'll talk about Command Your Brand and then get you some philosophy, because I think that's the part a lot of people are really interested in. I know I am. So with Command Your Brand, talk a little bit about what you do to help a client. Maybe pick your most successful or one client and just take them through how you got them from point A to point B.
Well, what we really help people to do is not just tell a better story, but also to do it in the right places. Because when you look at it, I think when you look at podcasting, 80% of success is not on show selection. That's only like 20% of it. 80% is how somebody's actually going to show up on that show and the impact they're going to make. So we really try to work with our clients to, tell a better story, to really offer value, to really be there and communicate. And then from there, we're finding the right shows. So I guess an example would be a client we had worked with a number of years ago in the real estate space. And he is an incredible human being, offers so much value. So we found, I think, like 17 of the right shows in the real estate space. And then his message marked with those shows, he brought her in around $500,000 from those shows, around $500,000. So that's really what we're helping people do, is to tell a better story, to do it in the right places, to actually make an impact. And it's grown and changed over the years as we're really working with people that have big visions. Because I find that people that focus so much on the minutia, number one, they're not fun for us, and they're not as fun for, the people out there in the podcast world. So we really want to work with visionaries that make a big impact and do it on the right podcast. That's what we do.
That's awesome.
How do you vet the podcast? Because how many of them are out there? There's
3.5 million.
Oh, I was going to round up to 1 million. 3.5 million.
The top 95% have, if you have 100 or more downloads an episode, you're in the top 5% of all podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
We're close.
Yeah.
We're close. Yeah. We're right at it.
Top 5%.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah. And
wow.
the top 1%.
I didn't know that.
The top 1% is 1,000 or more an episode.
Uh-oh. We're not there.
And then the Joe Rogans and everybody, the Joe Rogans and everybody else are like the top 1/2 of 1%.
All right. So you guys are up in that thing. So I'm actually putting you on my billboard now. You're on that bulletin board with me. I'm coming after you and Smartless. I'm taking Bateman and Arnett down, baby. Wow. I mean, I've got them. No? Yeah, I didn't think so.
Yeah.
No, we do this because, we started this because I begged Alan to get into this and do this. And I think we got a story to tell. And, I'd written a book about what I had done starting a business after leaving corporate America and having all the trappings of success that I had. And it's hard. And it's really starting to resonate. People are starting to listen and get out there. And we've enjoyed it. And we've also, personally, we've learned a lot. I know that.
Oh, yeah. And what's so interesting, and I'd like to hear if you can validate this, is how many people actually engage with Chris? I mean, when he's out at trade shows, he gets emails, he gets phone calls, and it's like, that seems like a really high percentage of listener engagement on a podcast. Is that normal?
No, that's 100% true, because too, this stat is a couple years old, but Apple took a look at in their back end stats, and they saw that listeners actually finish like 80% of an episode, which is incredible, right? Because I don't know what your average episode length is, but mine's like, around an hour or more. So
right.
It's you're really getting a lot of people's time. We had a podiatrist we work with, and podiatrists, I don't think it's that interesting to talk about feet, but whatever. And what he actually did
depends on what feet you're talking about.
He helped other podiatrists.
Easy, dirty old man. Wow, you just took that to a dirty level so quickly. That's my job, dude. Back to your Chris filter.
Just making sure you're awake, Chris.
If you know what I mean.
So he actually helped other podiatrists to take his system and put it into their business and make a lot more money because of that. So he was at a trade show. Somebody he'd never met walked up to an event and handed him a check for $10,000 to join his program. And I think that's what especially when you go niche. I think when people go really broad, there's not as much value. But when you go really niche, you're actually talking to the people you need to be speaking to, and the people that can make a buying decision with you or that need to know who you are. To me, that's the bigger impact.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I love that. All right, so you work with your clients.
Well, I want to get back to my original question,
what was that?
The vetting. You have 3.5 million podcasts to choose.
How do you know which podcasts are good?
For your particular client.
Oh, right.
So there's a couple different things. Like number one, like we found that kind of the charts and whatnot in Apple Podcasts are kind of excuse my French, bullshit.
Nice.
Like they used to, before 2017, they used to really be an active thing that I think you could gauge audience numbers off of. But now I think really it's been bought by corporate. So kind of what's there is what's there. And if it's usually the brands that you're going to have recognized, right? Like, your Wonderies and those like that. So I think they've really like owned the charts. So what we've done is there's a couple different tools that we use to take a look at podcast audiences. And one being chartable.com is really good. Listen Notes is a really, really solid one. And our favorite tool is a software called Raphonic, which can actually estimate podcast show reach. So we have a good idea of, kind of what we're working with. And it's pretty darn accurate for what we've seen.
Yeah. So how many clients are you working with right now? Ish.
It depends. We did, like, last year we worked with 60 clients, but we had kind of a rate change structure and everything. We did have to cost of living and everything. We did have to do a price raise and things like that. So we're actually working with right now working with 40. So it is a kind of a lower, but our cost per client is higher than it used to be.
Yeah. So hey, it works. I mean, honestly, here I am talking with other remodelers. So like Chris, I do 100 jobs a year, and you're doing 2,800 a year. I'm like, yeah, I know. It's a lot of brain damage, my friends. I get it.
It's a lot of therapy.
It's just not good. So I would say bigger is not always better. Better is better. That's what Warren Buffett always said.
What I found for us, and I don't know if it's different for other people's businesses, but what I found for us is people that could like barely afford to work with us there were two things. Like, number one, they weren't going to have the things in place to fully benefit from the program. And number two, they weren't going to be as committed as they should be. So, obviously you should also make money for what you do. Like, I think that's pretty important.
I think that's a business
a pretty
lesson
important
across
thing.
the board. And that one, I'm going to make sure everybody picks up on that one. Sometimes when people ask you, hey man, can you discount this? This might not be the best customer for you. And when you're first starting, you'll do it. You'll take a chance.
Absolutely.
But you know what? And I would tell you, some of the worst customer experiences I've had have been nickel thin razor margins, and we gave a discount and they came out and we all felt bad about it. I felt bad because I didn't make any money. The customer felt bad because they felt like we didn't give them great service. And some of the best customers I've ever had, I charged probably double, got my best margins on, and they keep coming back for more work.
You've told me I'm one of your best customers. So you're telling me you're doubling?
Damn it.
Oh, Chris.
He charges you to hang out with him, man.
Well,
I know.
So yeah,
I used to have to bring the beer.
Yeah, he used to bring the beer, but no, actually,
He started bringing Bud Light, so they wouldn't let him come anymore.
No, he's gone. Yeah, in fact, it's funny you should say that. We're broadcasting live from my basement, where my son, who's going back to college, had a little rager over the weekend, and there's some Bud Light in my fridge, and I opened the door, and Alan goes, "I'm not drinking that." I'm like, "Oh, come on, I'm not." I was
Somebody already paid for it. I guess it doesn't matter.
I was pointing at the Modelo. Break it down, bro. Come on. But no, actually, we're doing Alan's deck, and I told him, I'm like, "Look, dude, I'm doing this, and I'm really thin margin," and we just got done saying, "Hey, Alan's a really good client," and my project manager, who's doing the job, is saying, "Boy, I really like working with Alan." I said, "That's good, because I just heard that he really likes working with you." So I just got to tell it Alan. I'm like, "Hey man, it sounds like we had a great relationship." So now Alan, the cat's out of the bag.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm doubling
2
down.
+ 2 = 4.
That's right. And don't forget.
I will say for us, we do have a no discounts policy, because there's a couple things. Like, we're always going to do more to add more value to the client. So maybe that's meaning, adding an additional resource or adding something else that can help them. But we don't do discounts for a couple reasons. Number one, like, I can't do discounts on paying employees, right? Like, it just doesn't work. You can kind of get in trouble legally for doing that. So that's number one. But number two, discount clients don't get to work as much. I'm just going to be honest. It's just how it works.
It's a hard lesson to learn. You learn it but of course you started yours back in 2016. So you got the benefit of a couple of years under your belt. Well, that's command your brand, but you've been doing it. See, in the beginning, we did it because that's the only way we could grow. You said it. I spent $5,000 to make 1,500. Now I'm out there cranking out, and I can do what I need to do, but I'm actually doing better, and the customers and the clients like me better. That's a great model, because it goes back to the Ritz-Carlton, which I use in my training. Is that I was just out in I actually toured the Ritz-Carlton in Lake Tahoe. Did I mention there?
Was it an official tour, or
no? They left the door open, and I went to the pool and hung out there for the day. So, but their room rate that night was $1,200, and I was like, all right. I was staying at my buddy's place down the hill. But when you look at that, they were almost full occupancy, $1,200 a night, and that sounds crazy to a lot of people. But no, one of the things I found an article, and I got to go find it again. One of the fastest brands to come back out of COVID in terms of occupancy rates was the Ritz-Carlton.
Probably because you assume that they actually have cleaners.
I think that's what you knew. It'd be super clean. You knew they were going to be good. They did the whole distancing thing, but people would run back to that. And why do they go back there for it? And I do this in training all the time. The experience.
And experience is one part of it, but also like a certain class of person also expects to pay a certain rate, right? And I guess below that, in their opinion, it doesn't have the value. It just I've seen it, man.
Right. So the one I use in training is I show off a property that's on an island, or it's a little tributary Ritz-Carlton. It's $2,000 a night, and I said, you know what you get? You get.
You're showing properties on island. Was that one that guy Jeffrey owned? That guy?
Not that island. Hey, nice. Oh, good pull.
Wrong
baby.
island. Wrong island.
I wasn't on that island. I wasn't invited. But I'm going to once I get to my new NetJet property that I'm thinking about doing. Anyway, so what do you get when you go to a Ritz-Carlton? You get a private room, a bed, a pillow, and a private bathroom. You go to a Red Roof Inn, pay $200 a night. You know what you get? Same thing. You get a private room, a bed, a pillow, and a private bathroom.
Yeah, but your feet stick to the floor.
Well, and don't worry about those bed bugs. They're not a big deal. And I didn't say
that.
I
stayed in a Howard Johnson in Ohio, man, when I was on a road trip one time, because I was like, this was in Cincinnati, Ohio. I stayed in a Howard Johnson, and we were on a road trip. It was late at night. It was the only place we could stay. I kid you not, there was blood on the wall. This was terrifying.
Oh my God. I'm thinking chickens. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe people. I don't know. No,
I remember the last bad hotel I stayed in. I got so nervous. I jammed a chair under the doorknob.
Did you really?
Yeah. It was really bad.
Gosh.
So Ryan's a lot younger than us. So here's a quiz for everybody. When's the last time you stayed in a motel? Which the difference between a motel and a hotel is that you can go to a motel, your door is open to the outside.
Right.
When's the last time you stayed in a motel?
The time I put the chair under the door.
Right.
Yeah.
Jeremy, have you ever stayed in a motel?
Yes, usually like driving down to Florida, because that's pretty much what you have down
right.
95.
That's right.
We stayed in this one time, and it was in Lambertville, South Carolina. I will never forget the name of the town. And it was called Nights Inn. And we go in, and the lady's like, "Yeah, we got a room." She's like, "Have you ever stayed in 208 before?" I'm like, "What do you mean I've ever stayed in 208 before? Should I know something about it?" So I'm like, "We're not going to stay in that room. We actually ended up staying at the motel down the street." But like, motels are super shady, man.
There you go. Motels, shady. See, they're getting a bad rap. I think they need Command Your Brand to bring them back, man. You can.
No, I don't want them associated with my brand, man. Come on now. Yeah. We have this one motel out here, because like in the middle of nowhere by where I live. And I always say to my wife, I'm like, why would somebody come stay out here? Number one. Number two, like, who the heck is staying at a motel in the middle of nowhere? Like, what do you do out here other than like deal drugs?
Right. Or stalk chickens. I think that's where I'm going. Yeah. Go up and pick off chickens. I keep going back to chickens. I can't help myself. I know. Because I'm jealous. I'm actually thinking about being a gentleman farmer. No, I'm not.
Don't get cocky, man.
Oh, nice.
There's a dad joke.
Oh, that's a joke. Dad pull. Your dad is proud when he listens to this podcast. Right. No, never. Just because, like, I think my dad's listened to one episode, even though we dragged him on for one episode
we did
years ago. Yeah. So that's great. All right, man. So I know we're coming close to our end of the time. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. You got a book coming out. So let's talk about this book.
Yeah, it's called Unremarkable to Extraordinary. And like I said, I've had thousands of incredible conversations. And I don't know about you guys, but I absolutely hate personal development books. I think they're terrible. They tell you to go stare at a mirror for an hour and tell yourself you're successful. And I'll tell you what, it's not going to happen. What you do in life is actually about the things you do. So what I did is I interviewed thousands of people that have actually like achieved things by doing them. A 4-time 8500 champion, the former CAA director, Major League Baseball Hall of Famer. And I've tried to learn from these people, like what makes them who they are and what are these things that other people can apply. So that's really what Unremarkable to Extraordinary is, because I think we all start unremarkable, but it's the things we do and the experiences we have that make us extraordinary. So I wanted to give people life experiences they can have that can also make them, help them do something incredible in their lives.
That's a great book.
So the book revolves around stories around these people.
Yeah, it's stories around people's lives. Like I mentioned, Elio Castroneves that won the Indy 500 4 times. We talk all about his life. We had the My Pillow guy on, Mike Lindell, and we learned all about his life as well. So
really,
I've had a lot of incredible conversations. Like he gets into some strange stuff that he found in the carpets of those rooms when he was a crack addict. But like, I will tell you, man, like it is incredible what people can do by hard work, and that's what I really want to teach to others.
That's outstanding. When is it coming out?
It actually came out in June. So
really?
People can go to getextraordinarybook.com and it's out there for purchase right now.
I want to know if the lady who pulled the tank that beat you is in there or not.
She's not. She is not.
Oh,
I still hold a grudge against her, man. Not
right.
happening.
You kept her out of the book. Gosh, he colded her out of the book.
No,
He's
she
like,
should have
no.
written the
Old
forward.
shoulder, man.
Oh, dang it, she should have made the. Who needs Helio Castroneves? And who's the MLB Hall of Famer? Who's in there?
Mariano Rivera.
Oh, are you
Nice.
kidding me?
I've interviewed him, Johnny Damon, Nick Swisher. I'm trying to think of who else I got in there. You guys may have heard of.
He's such a name dropper.
There was a middle linebacker, Sean
jealous.
Merriman.
Yeah.
Pretty incredible. I've had some incredible conversations, man. I've been very lucky.
That is, but so one of the common threads. What's one of the common threads you thought that you learned from these guys?
Well, there's a couple different tenets I looked at. Like number one is adversity and how adversity really drives a person. So some of the stories are in the book are just from people I admired that I haven't had a chance to talk to. So I have a whole chapter on Tom Brady. And I think that he is one of the best examples of adversity, though I'm a Green Bay Packers fan. So, I do look at life a little bit differently. But I think if you look at
you're like the fifth Jersey guy I know who's a Green Bay Packers fan. What the hell do they have in that? By the way, I'm from Detroit, long-suffering Lions fan, and currently a long-suffering Falcons fan. Definitely smarting from the whole thing. But guess what, big boys? Guess who's going to Lambeau this year? That's right.
Big Daddy's going to Lambeau.
I am going to Lambeau
That's
later
a
this year.
bucket list place for me.
Have you been to Lambeau?
I'm a shareholder, but I have not been to Lambeau.
Okay. No. Oh,
I'm a shareholder, baby. I got a stock certificate.
Oh, look at you. All right. So I should say that's I should like that team the most. Unfortunately, I grew up in Detroit and I went up in the UP and played football. And all my buddies, we were either Packers fans or Lions fans. And so I can't. I can't. I just cannot cheer for them. So I'm going up for the Lions Packers game. It's a Thursday night game, the end of the, September. Just freaking pumped. Going to catch up with some of the guys I went to school with. A lot of fun. So, all right. So adversity, that was one. Tom Brady. What was the second one?
Another big one is like leadership and how people lead. I think a lot of times people want to lead from the front when a lot of times you're leading by right alongside people and being willing to do just as much, if not more than them. So that's another really big concept. Another one I would say as well is I don't think there's as much value in education as people want to think there is. I think there's a lot of value in, what you're actually going to do in your life and learn by experience. I'm a big learner from experience rather than, as I mentioned, I have a lot of book knowledge, but I don't think it's very applicable in life. To me, I think experience is your greatest teacher. Another thing I would say is that done is better than perfect. So many times people will spend years building something that's never going to get out there.
But if you're going, such a good line. Done
right?
Is better than
because
perfect.
It's like they're like,
that's the title of this podcast.
The apostrophe has got to be in the perfect spot, or I cannot release this thing.
Are you sure? You sure it's not killing chickens with Bikini Joe?
You know what? You make a good
I think
point.
everybody would listen to it with that title, man.
I know.
Killing chickens with Bikini Joe while putting your head under my pillow.
Oh my God.
There's a mic drop.
Oh my God, that was. There you go. That is classic, bro. Oh my God, that's so funny. All right. I'm trying to think of the title. I got way too many titles in my head now.
Yeah.
We got to get back on track. We're almost done.
We are almost done. We got to get into the questions here.
All right, let's do this. Well, obviously, you can't promote your own book, but what is a favorite book that you would refer to everybody right now to take a look at? Because I'm with you. I don't think the self-help books get you there. I love biographies. I love, listen to people's stories much better. But what's a book that you
don't steer his answer?
I'm sorry.
Oh,
couching.
It's rough, man, because I read a lot of biographies. I read a lot of autobiographies. I also I read a lot of like literature as well. So like Crime and Punishment by Dostoevsky was an incredible book because you just learn a lot about kind of human beings and how they think. But
if somebody came to you and said, I'm thinking about starting a business, give them a book.
So I don't remember the author, but I just finished a really great biography of Sam Walton. And I find that to be a pretty incredible story because the family since they're not really doing so hot, but Sam Walton, he did a lot and put a lot on the line to actually make that business go.
I love reading those same things. And I'm with you. I can't stand most business books, but I like reading about the guy that founded Starbucks, and how Arthur Blank and Bernie Marcus did Home Depot. I mean, and most people just look at them and go, oh, look at how rich they are. And, how can I get some of their money? And then you find out that they put everything on the line to make it happen.
Yeah. I think it goes along with From the Zoo to the Wild. book that no, just kidding.
You haven't mentioned
I know
your book in a while,
I had
Chris.
to, but all right.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into this. What's the favorite feature of your current home? We know we've been talking a lot about the chickens.
The chicken coop.
It has to be something other than the chickens.
So I have a river that goes through my backyard, so it's where I typically we use our kayaks and stuff like that.
Okay. Love that river runs through it.
Man.
I watched that movie.
In New Jersey.
I know, right? Again.
As I said, it's people see where I live and they're like, this is New Jersey? What?
That's beautiful. All right. Second thing. So customer service. When you're out there getting service, you're out there. We are customer service freaks. Let's go. What is a customer service pet peeve of yours?
Calling Verizon Wireless? I don't know, man.
Dude. Oh, yeah. Try T-Mobile.
Well, no, because phone customer service, right? I think that a lot of companies have tried to make it cheaper and do whatever. Our cable provider, our cable and internet provider used to be Optimum. It's not anymore. And when their hold times are long, it just hangs up on you and says thank you and goodbye. And you're like, but I've been waiting for 40 minutes. What do I do now?
Right.
I think companies really need to start, especially with phone service, valuing their customers more, because I think at the same time, they've outsourced to other countries where, I don't see a problem with that. I've outsourced to other countries as well, but I think for phone support, that can be very hard because those people don't have exact documentation and access to different things. And you're a human being, you're not a process. And I think to me, companies suck at phone customer service.
I agree. That's a good one.
Oh, and to pile onto that, when you're actually finally get to somebody and it sounds like they're taking care of you, and then you're like, okay, if I need to call you back, how do I get a hold of you? And they can't give you their name and you can't reach them again. There's no number.
Right.
Yep. Drives me nuts.
That. Yeah. Speaking of that, the corporate card I've used for years is American Express, and they have been extremely helpful on the phones. I found them to be really good. I'm gonna plug that one for a minute, but
that's cool.
Not American Express sponsor of the Trusted Toolbox.
And they should be. Well, trust me, I put plenty of money through their organization. I can promise you that one. All right, last thing. What is a DIY nightmare story? And we love fire, dismemberment.
DIY nightmare. I don't know that I have any, man. We took our attic and we refinished it and turned it into an office. That was a lot of fun, but it wasn't really a nightmare. I don't really have a DIY nightmare for you, man.
All right, that's all right. That's okay.
I got one. Okay, I got one. Okay, so I was putting lifting springs on my Jeep, and we didn't get, when you get to the top of the shock, we didn't get the shock mount in correctly. And we had the actual shock mount drop, and we had the rotor actually go into the road, and then it was stuck there for 2 days. So the cops came to the house because this is we didn't have a driveway, so it's in front of the house we were doing this, and I got in a lot of trouble for that. So there you go.
That's a good one. I mean, I like that. Cops got called. That's the other thing we should say. I want to hear cops called.
That's right. Ambulance.
Yeah, ambulance.
Yeah. Some kind of first responder.
I got pulled over. I got pulled over once because I used to soup up my cars way too much when I was a teenager, and I got pulled over in my tiny ass Volkswagen that used to be able to go way too fast. Cop pulls me over for tinted windows, and he's walking around the car. He goes, "Got anything else in this piece of shit I can give you a ticket for?" I'm like, "Oh, hello, officer. How are you?"
Oh, so I guess we're not getting out of this one. Am I gonna get a warning?
I did not get a warning. I got a 2-point ticket.
Nice. Back to responses that don't get you a warning. Let me give you one. License registration, sir. Yes. Would you like to know why I pulled you over? I'm like, no. Could you please enlighten me? Bingo, got the ticket.
Wow.
Yeah, that one didn't go over. I had 6 shots at it, and
I had a friend, but every time he got pulled over for speeding, he used to tell the cop he had to poop, and you would be shocked how many times he got out of a ticket because the officer would be like, "Oh, I get it, man, go."
Hang on 1 minute.
Take that note.
In fact, that's
write that down.
I have a friend that he's gotten out of 3 speeding tickets for telling the officer he had to poop, and the officer's like, "Oh, you just go handle that, man. I don't want to make that. I don't want to have that on my conscience."
Yeah. I got pulled over for the too heavy tinted windows here in Atlanta as well. And cop comes up and says, "Do you know why I pulled you over?" I'm like, "No, I'm sure you're going to tell me." And I'm thinking I still got a shot, right? And he says, "Your windows are too tinted." I said, "So it's been a slow day, huh?" Boom, got another one.
So I actually, so the
I know,
time
right? I know. I can't help
I'm
myself.
shaking my head.
I
I'm
know.
sorry.
I
the
know, I'm
time
glad.
he's walking around the car and asking me if he's got anything else he can give me a ticket for, that was failure to stop at a stop sign, but the tints were what got him really upset. I had another time I got pulled over for my tints, and I was like, all right, you got a razor blade? I'm like, we could pull them off together, and I actually got out of the ticket doing that.
Oh, nice call.
See, he's much more helpful and kind when the cop pulls him over. You're just a smart ass.
I am. Yeah. Oh yeah. I got plenty of tickets to show for that. Actually, I'm coming off of though. I'm not our.
He's reformed.
Well, I was
No,
about
he's
to say,
not reformed
I was
at
just
all,
about to say,
Jeremy.
of my 17 drivers.
He's better. He's better at hiding it.
Yeah, there you go.
Of our 17 drivers on our list, I was just about to say I was not last, but I can't say that yet. Okay. So anyway, I am the worst driver in our company. No shit. Yeah. Anyway, all right, Jeremy, this has been a blast. I've had fun. We are going to come up with a creative title because you know how this stuff works. People like catchy titles ish.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Is it yanking tanks? Is it that's not one.
Tell
Anyway,
the cops you had to poop.
Tell the cops you had to poop. I'm still think it's I think it's raising chickens with Bikini Joe. Jeremy, and how to put yourself out there as a brand.
Oh man.
All right. Well, I would tell you, I said that I've watched what you guys have done with Command Your Brand. I really applaud you and what you're doing. I do know some of the clients you guys work with. Stellar work. They are getting out there. I've seen the names. So I was glad to get you on and get a chance to kick it around with you a little bit. But keep it up. Keep making that shit happen. Making it all happen. How else can they find you besides Command Your Brand and your great book about Unremarkable to Extraordinary?
Well, if they want to find out how they can really, command their presence on podcasts and make a bigger impact, I put together an awesome resource for them. And it's really a list of the basic PR things that every business should know and be putting into implementation in their business to get attention right now. And they can get that over at crushitonpodcast.com.
Crushitonpodcast.com. And I said it just like an announcer. Hello. All right. I can't do it.
In a world where other podcasts are lame.
Now he's talking. I was waiting. I wanted another impression. Come on. We can't do another impression.
Oh, you want another impression? I got some good ones, man.
All right. Hit me.
All right.
I got Yoda and I got Scooby-Doo. You tell me what you want, man.
Both.
You know what? I want
both.
Yoda first. Because
There is no try. Only do or do not.
Thank you. All right. Give us our best Scooby.
Rinky's raggy. Ruby-dooby-doo.
Come on, your kids.
My wife is gonna hate me for that.
Oh, that's
I hope she
outstanding.
listens to this episode because even she's going to learn a little bit more about Bikini Joe and raising chickens.
Absolutely.
If you want to learn more about how to raise chickens with Bikini Joe, keep dialing in. Get in here. Let's check it out. The Small Business Safari. And by the way, if you're still listening, man, do me a favor. I can't even get my best friends to give me a rating and a review. I begged them this morning, and Mia says I just did it, and I'm looking, and it's not there.
Yeah.
So I don't know if Apple's suppressing all these reviews or not, but
well, they probably know that the reviews are written under duress.
Ratings and reviews don't help you. So what I would tell your listeners to do that's actually going to help you, they need to subscribe, man. That's what actually helps you.
Oh my God! Subscribe, hurry, please!
Subscribe,
It only
baby, do
took
it.
us 125 episodes.
How am I doing? Yeah, and this will be on YouTube too, which is one of the ones that just blew up with Paul. Was pretty good. But anyway, let's get everybody out of here. Keep going up that mountaintop of success. It's not always easy. You can't start on top. You got to get to the top. You got to do it by grinding and getting up there. Get it out there. Get it done. Go make something happen. We're out of here.
Cheers.